Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Betsy Talbot of BetsyTalbot.com. Betsy, it's awesome having you on the show.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm glad to be here.
No problem. Super excited to have you on. And before we jumped in, I wanted to read a little bit more about Betsy so you can hear about all the awesome things that she's doing. And Betsy helps businesses explain what they do so they can get more sales from the right customers. If you've ever wondered why people are obviously need your services aren't buying, then you're in exactly the right place. Betsy is a bridge builder between customer problems and business solutions. And today she's going to tell us how we can make it easier for people to see the value in our offers and click the very important buy button. Betsy, are you ready to speak to the I'm CEO community?
I am ready.
Awesome. Let's do it. So to kick everything off, I wanted to kind of rewind the clock a little bit, hear a little bit more about what got you started. Could you tell us your CEO story? We'll let you get started with your business.
All right, great. Well, my CEO story is a little bit convoluted, but I think that's true for a lot of people, especially if you come to be your own CEO at midlife like me. I've always been someone who can see opportunities, and I've always been a bit of a risk taker, small ways, big ways, and I would much rather learn from failure than to live with regret. So I already had that going for me. So when I was 37 years old, my younger brother had a heart attack. And within a year later, a good friend of mine who was also 35 had a brain aneurysm. Now, both of these people recovered. Everything was fine, but it brought up a lot of questions. And so my husband and I kind of looked at each other and said, if we weren't going to make it to our 40th birthdays, what would we do different with our lives? And we both, of course, wanted to travel, which was something we thought we'd have to wait for retirement for. So again, that whole see the opportunity, take the risk. We decided to start saving, and we saved money for 2 years, sold our house, sold our car, sold everything we owned, and went traveling for 4 years.
Nice.
During that time, we started our own kind of lifestyle media business. We had a podcast, we had a bunch of other things going on, and I took a ton of training on how to better communicate what we were doing, how to make more sales. I really dove into that. And a lot of my entrepreneur friends started asking me for help. And what I found in pretty short order was that I loved the variety of helping all these other businesses more than I liked working on my same business all the time. And so it got to the point where finally my husband and I made the decision that we were just going to close down the business that we were doing, and I was going to hang out my shingle and see if this thing was going to work. Again, that whole opportunity risk thing. And I was shocked. It picked up right away, and I was quickly earning more than we had been doing in our other business. And I think it just goes to show when you click into something that you're good at, that feeds you, that also helps other people, it's kind of hard to mess it up. I mean, I still mess up occasionally. Don't get me wrong.
No, we all definitely mess up, but there's definitely, so much power in being in kind of that zone of genius, so to speak, where you are not only, able to make an impact as you've been able to on your business, but I think being able to help out so many other people as well too. And you start to know that because these things sometimes will take off, not because you haven't been working, hard and you haven't been doing things, but because it's like that perfect kind of alignment. And when that happens, it just triggers that incredible kind of growth.
Well, there's not many times in life. I mean, I wish there were more times in life like this where you just really feel like you're tuned in to what you're supposed to be doing. You can feel the hum, you can just reach out and kind of touch the live wire, and you're on it. And that's how I feel about this business and have since day one. And I'm really glad that I'm able to do it. I mean, I live in a cave house in the middle of rural Spain, and I am able to make a great living and really have a fulfilling life and still look outside and see sheep grazing in the pasture. So for me, this is an ideal life, and it's made possible because of the internet and because of the way we work now, and because I have a unique skill set to be able to offer to other people. So again, I just, it's that knowing that you're in the right place, and it feels really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that word that you said, possible, and the possibilities that sometimes we don't know are aware to us, especially due to the internet, and that we can, live the life and rewrite our script, so to speak. And a lot of times, if you don't know that, if you don't hear that, you don't realize it's something that can be a reality. So that's why I love, obviously, that you're doing it, but as well, that you're telling so many people how you've been able to execute it and be able to do it as well, too.
Yeah. Well, and let me tell you, I grew up in a small town in a very conservative background. So if I can do it, anybody can.
There you go. That's even more of a reminder. So I know you touched on it a little bit. Can you take us through exactly like what you're doing with your clients? How do you serve your clients, and how exactly that process goes?
Well, generally, I help my clients explain what they do so that they don't have to compete on price. So they're competing on value.
Mhm.
They're showing the kind of changes they can bring about for their clients. Normally, I work with B2B clients, manufacturing, engineering, although I do have a few law firm clients as well. And what I like about this is that we start from the business goal. We start from what is it that you're trying to achieve, and then we use content and automation and all kinds of strategies to help accomplish those goals. We don't just say we need an email campaign or we need to update the website. It's all in service to a bigger goal. And I think that's kind of the head turner for a lot of my clients, is that they look at that and they say, oh, well, I never thought about it that way. And in my way of thinking, there's no reason to create any piece of content or any marketing activity if it's not feeding the bigger goal, if it's not part of something. Otherwise, it's just busy work. And if you want to do busy work, you might as well get a job working for somebody else.
Exactly. That makes so much sense, and I love kind of. I think sometimes we can lose sight of that quote unquote North Star, so to speak. And you can get caught in the kind of the day to day, or even the shiny objects as well too. It's like, oh, I heard that I need to do this, or I need to implement that, or I need to do this. But if you're not really kind of keeping in alignment to that North Star, you can get really lost and start, as you say, and doing that busy work that you could be doing for somebody else.
Exactly. And this is the thing. I think most people who have the idea of being a CEO, whether you're still working on it or, you're already there, you're in the corner office, whatever.
Mhm.
We don't want to do busy work. We don't want to do somebody else's agenda of, you have to stay here from 8 to 5, whether you have anything to do or not, kind of a thing. We all kind of want to, make our own destiny. And
Mhm.
so, there's no room for busy work in that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's like kind of a human thing. You want to be a purpose. You want to feel like what you're doing is of value, as you said as well too. And I think the more that you're in alignment with that, the more you feel excited about every minute and every aspect of life, because it's all for something that's sometimes greater than ourselves.
Right.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I wanted to ask you now for what I call your secret sauce, and it could be for yourself personally or your business. But what do you feel kind of sets you apart and makes you unique?
Well, the thing that sets me apart from other people who do what I do, which most of them would call themselves a copywriter or a marketing strategist, the thing that sets me apart is that I do have quite a bit of a business background. I didn't get into this until midlife.
Mm.
And so I have a lot of business background. So when I'm talking to a CEO or a founder or, an executive, I can speak the language that they're talking about when they're talking about their goals and the things that they want to do with their business. And I can tie what I do to those goals so that they can clearly see it. And that's something that not every person who does what I do, they don't have that background. So when I'm able to do that, it helps me forge relationships at a higher level and with maybe bigger businesses than an indie person like me would normally be able to attract. And that's what I like about it. And it's probably why I end up working with so many manufacturers and engineers and lawyers.
Yeah, no, that makes so much sense. And I think one of the, I guess, the lost arts of communication is always actually communicating. And I think
Yeah.
communicating not just to be heard, but actually to the person and be able to help them.
Looks like we had a little skip in the video.
Oh, yes. Are you still there? I can hear you.
I'm still here. I'm still
Okay,
here.
perfect. I don't know if you heard me. I'll re-say it, but
Okay.
I think it's awesome that when you have that opportunity to really truly communicate, and you have that back and forth, you're not communicating just to hear yourself speak, but if you're communicating to the other person, you're helping them understand. And I think when that happens, you have that special alignment opportunity where you really reach an entirely different level.
And this is a tip for everybody that's listening. If you can connect with your prospect or your client on that level, and they know for sure that you are 100% trying to help them out, whether it's to look good in front of their customers, their shareholders, their employees, whatever it is, once they know you're on their side, that goes so much further than bragging about yourself or talking about how great you are and what all you're going to do. People want to be heard. They want to be listened to, and then they want you to act on what they've just said. And that's such a simple thing, but it's so rare.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why it's awesome that you're obviously able to do it and help so many people, be able to kind of do that as well. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit and I wanted to
Hmm.
ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an
Okay.
app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
Well, I am the boundary queen.
Mm,
So, this is a funny thing to say because most people think that it's counterintuitive, but this works so well. I stop work every Thursday afternoon and I do not work, I do not check email, I do not check LinkedIn, I do not check anything until Monday morning.
mm,
Now, I'm not saying everyone should do that. What I'm saying is that if you don't set boundaries for yourself as a CEO, you will not have the energy for the long run. You will also not have the respect of your clients because they think that you are basically a slave to your business. And if you aren't getting the rewards of being an entrepreneur or a CEO, which is having a life, then why are you in it? So my hack is to have really strong boundaries that protect your creativity and your energy and your mental health so that you can always be strong for your business and so that you can always enjoy what you're doing because you don't want to wake up one day to find out that you've built a successful business that you hate going to every day.
yeah, absolutely. And that's extremely powerful. I think, again, kind of talking about that North Star, so to speak, but I think even why you started your business, kind of understanding that. And I think so many times you get in the hustle and bustle of doing the work, you forget of why you're doing everything you're doing, maybe to spend time with your family, other travel, or do so many different things. And we get lost in that and don't turn that off switch, don't create those boundaries. And then all of a sudden we have a
Yeah.
life that we don't know why we have and want to try to escape from.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So now I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO nugget. So that could be a word of wisdom or piece of advice or something you might tell yourself if you were to hop into a time machine.
Oh, wow. This is a good one. You should always know way more about your market and your customers than they know about you.
Mhm.
If you do not know them inside and out, you cannot serve them. You cannot make sales, you cannot make money, you cannot grow your business if you don't know. So I see so many times when clients come to me and they want to basically have a one-way conversation, broadcast out how great they are, all the things they can do. And again, there's a place for that. Obviously, you need to put your credibility out there. But if you aren't spending at least as much time, if not more time, getting to know the pains, the goals, the feelings, the changes of your clients, then you're in a bad place. Right now, as we record this, we are in the midst of most of us quarantining for
Mhm.
the coronavirus. And what I'm seeing from a lot of clients is they're not adjusting their messaging at all. They're not looking at how their clients' lives have changed. Everyone's lives has changed. So even if your offer hasn't necessarily changed, the messaging around it probably should. I heard an ad for a major bank on a podcast just a couple of weeks ago about refinancing to get an extension built on your home. And I thought, who in the heck is thinking about that right now? Not a single person. There are still people who want to borrow money, but not for that.
Right. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I think that, again, sometimes we lose, sight of why we're doing what we're doing, especially when you're creating products and services to serve, the community. And you want to make sure that you're aware and have researched and are, kind of have that nose to the ground, I guess you can say, with the community and who you're trying to serve. Because I think so many times we think that what we're doing is great, but it may not be the right time. It may not be the right message, but that's literally because we probably don't have that kind of awareness around who exactly we're trying to serve and how best to serve them.
Well, and it all also comes down to being a little bit scared to talk to your customers. I mean, none of us want to hear that we're falling short of the mark. None of us want to hear that we're not a number one perfect all the time, but we're not. And it's
Mhm.
when you separate yourself, your self-worth is separate from what people think about your business. So
Mhm.
it's okay to get negative feedback. As a matter of fact, be thankful anytime someone tells you, it was hard for me to buy from you. I called customer service and it was terrible. This product was broken when I got it. Any of those things, you can fix those things. You can fix those things for that customer and for every other customer who comes after that. So it's a gift. And if you teach yourself to ask those questions and to really pay attention to the answers, you can really transform the way that you run your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so many times, and just to kind of, add upon that, I think when you do ask that question, you are aware of the things that you can improve upon. You can improve those things rather than kind of aimlessly, as we kind of talked about before, changing or updating things that may not actually move the needle or create that tighter bond with your client. So you have to
Busy
be aware
work.
of it. Exactly. You're busy work. And so when you're aware of that, that's when you're able to kind of make those tweaks and changes. But to not be aware of it, then you kind of just kind of shooting in the dark, so to speak.
Yeah, very unproductive, both financially and as a use of your time. You're the
Yeah.
CEO. You should be doing everything. Even if you're the only employee of the company, it should be the
Mhm.
wisest and best use of your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Because time is one of the most precious gifts that we all have. So, I now wanted to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on the show. So, Betsy, what does being a CEO mean to you?
Mm. Let's see. Being a CEO means identifying opportunities and taking calculated risks and being comfortable with doing that. And this is why I mentioned at the top of the show, taking those risks every single day in small ways makes you prepared for those bigger risks. When something comes along and you know it's there, you no longer have to freak out like, oh, can I do this? Because you've done it 100 times in small ways before. So to me, being a CEO is being a leader, and you can't always play it safe, and you do have to take risks, and you do have to fail and learn from those failures. So being a CEO is not the kind of thing where all of a sudden you're there and you're at this position and you do everything right going forward and you play everything safe. It should actually be the opposite of that. You're a leader. You're someone who's trying to do something in this world, whether you're a one-person shop or a big organization. And if you really want to leave your mark, you're going to have to embrace some opportunities and take some risks and recognize that you're going to fail and be okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to make sure that you definitely, respect the process. And it kind of sounds like you're talking about, and definitely correct me if I'm wrong, like it's kind of a muscle. As you said, you have to take those
Yes.
small risks and kind of see things turn out great. Sometimes they don't turn out not so great. They don't turn out great. But you still have to continue to kind of flex that muscle so that when that opportunity comes, you're in, I guess, shape, so to speak, so that you're able to kind of make those decisions.
Well, I talked earlier about being the boundary queen whenever I
Hmm.
said don't work on the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But the boundary is also when you become really comfortable doing things, your playing field, your boundary of risk and ideas is so much bigger because you're strengthening in it every day, just like going to the
Hmm.
gym. And so once you have that, you'll be amazed to see how many more opportunities you see on a given day, week, month, year than you do when you're playing really small and trying to keep it safe and not ruffle any feathers,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
not
when you're
risk
like,
looking bad.
exactly, exactly. Yeah. And understanding that's part of the process as well, too, is definitely a huge thing. And when you're able to kind of be in that zone, as we kind of talked about, that position of power provides some really phenomenal things. So, Betsy, truly appreciate that definition. I appreciate your time even more. What I wanted to do is pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you want to let our readers and listeners know. And of course, how best people can get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things you're working on.
Well, I love what you're doing here, Gresh, and everyone is the CEO of their own business. And one thing I'd like to leave people with is to know that there is no certification or test or permission being granted to you to be a CEO. You just get to jump in and do it. And you don't have to be perfect, and you are going to make mistakes. And, the goal is to make yourself comfortable with this role. And you can do that whether you are a CEO now or whether it's still a few years down the road for you. But the biggest tip of all is that you should be CEO of your life. Whether you ever take this into a business perspective or not, once you take control that way of your life, you'll see it go off in all kinds of crazy directions. And you may end up in the middle of Spain surrounded by sheep like I am. I don't know, but I couldn't have predicted how my life would have turned out. But I can tell you I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you shouldn't definitely be mad. And I think you want to be able to, to make sure that you are flexing those muscles and you are taking those risks, no matter what your quote unquote position is, but you are the CEO of your life and you can kind of paint the picture of your life and how you want it to be.
Right. Well, people can find me at betsytalbot.com. And if you go there, betsytalbot.com/shop, you'll find that I have a couple of DIY resources. One of them is a template kit on how to write a welcome series for your visitors, and it helps to tie what their pain points are with what you offer, because I know lots of people struggle with making that connection. And then the second one is a case study kit. So if you ever wanted to have your customers brag about you, this tells you exactly who to pick and why and what questions to ask and how to write it up and everything. And both of those are at pay what you can pricing. So if anyone's interested in that, hop on to betsytalbot.com/shop.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much again, Betsy. We will have the links and information in the show notes just so that everybody can do that. And I appreciate that reminder as well, too. Again, going back to why we do what we do to try to solve problems. It doesn't sometimes matter how well you can do it if you can't communicate it. So I appreciate you for creating that kind of easy button, I guess you can call it, to make it a little bit easier for us in our lives. So appreciate you, and I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.
Thank you. Love what you're doing here. You're giving people a lot of great information and inspiration to do what they want to do. And there's not enough of that in this world.
Absolutely. I try to do my part, and you being on the show and helping out in so many different ways have fulfilled that. So I appreciate that.